What's up guys, this is Shantan and welcome back to the iherng podcast, and today we will answer a question from email. This is from Emily. Hi Sean, I've got to follow some of your property insights from YouTube and Instagram which are very informative. The title is Landed Now in Bangi versus Condo Future in Cyberjaya. My family, both civil servants, husband working in UKM and I currently staying in Bangi. Landed terrace since 2014. Yesterday, we went to a condo showroom in Cyberjaya. The unit is about to be ready in September 2025 and the location is good. The hospital and schools are 5 to 10 minutes away, and we are looking at the options of moving to Cyberjaya from Bangi. One of the main reasons is to cut short the long journey from Bangi to our son's play school in Cyberjaya and then to my office in Putrajaya, which is roughly 1 hour and 30 minutes. Moving to Cyberjaya will cut my journey to less than an hour. Our son may enroll in primary 1 in Cyberjaya and I work in Putrajaya. I'm 40 years old and based on the estimated calculation, the monthly installment and maintenance fees will be around 3,200 for 29 years, which is around 575,000, and I will be retiring in 19 years. Now, my husband and I are having questions unanswered before deciding to relocate to Cyberjaya. Number 1, rent out or sell our present home in Bangi, which is now valued at 430 to 530,000. Number 2, will 3,200 be a big financial burden in the long term when we rent out our house in Bangi? Number 3, what are the property prospects in Cyberjaya if we ever decide to sell the condo later after 20 years? What are your thoughts on this? Regards, Emily. So thank you very much, Emily, for sending in this email, right? And it's pretty straightforward. So it's now landed in Bangi or to move to Cyberjaya and stay in a condo. The main thing here, I think, will be the installment amount that's 3,200. And that's the main thing, like why I encourage a lot of people to start investment early, right? When you are 40 years old and you can still get 29 years of installment, so I think it's still not too bad lah. But the thing is, then she is going to be retiring in 19 years. So what happens to the remaining 10 years that she needs to pay? There needs to be somewhat of a planning involved then. But the main intention to move to Cyberjaya is because she wants to cut short on the traveling time to the kids' school, also to the workplace and office. So first of all, there are a few key informations that is missing lah. So the first one is, what's your income? Right, when you tell me that you are both civil servants working, one in UKM and one in Putrajaya, what's the joint income like? Is it like one person 6,000, one person 8,000, 14,000, or is it 5,000, 4,000? And that will be a great difference when it comes to the 3,200. Is it a big amount or not? And it's absolutely relative. Like 3,200, that's less than a person's rental that they pay every month. Then if you compare to an installment, then you get the point, right? So I think that's lacking for this discussion. The other thing that's missing also will be the purchasing price of your property, which is the one that you stay in Bangi. So how much you bought last time and now the market price, because that will determine how much equity you have. The reason why that is important is because a lot of people think that they buy and they sell immediately got money, right? Actually, it's very, very wrong one. The first 5 to 8 years when you pay your installment, 90%, 85 to 90% of them actually all goes to interest. So that's why when you look at the housing loan, let's say you buy the house at 400,000, for example. 400,000, then when you pay after 10 years, right, the loan still left like maybe 380,000, right? Because the major portion of all the payments are all accumulated to the interest portion of the housing loan. So even if you sell at 500,000, you minus, right? Then you minus RBGT and all, nothing much is left. The fear here is that people think that, oh, I got a house, right? I sell, sure got value, sure got money, right? Then I use that to actually plow into my next property. It's not as simple. We need to go deeper with that. So we need to look at how much loan is left, how much you owe the bank still, and versus how much the market is willing to buy your house for. Then only that's the difference before tax. Then if RBGT is applied, then you will need to pay tax 5% on the profit. Only then you will get the amount 6 months or 8 months after you sign the S&P when you sell. So that's something to think about if you want to use the landed house money to actually buy a condo in Cyberjaya. And for Cyberjaya properties, like if you have followed the channel long enough, Cyberjaya has been this very interesting study subject where infrastructure are all ready, amenities, everything is complete. The only thing that is weird is there is no population supporting the rental rates. There is no need for actually people to be in Cyberjaya. Despite the very high job opportunities, you can see a lot of MNCs all moving their warehouse in, moving their logistic companies around, tech companies inside. Still couldn't pick up. That's why the entire Cyberjaya apartments is like an auction fiesta. Now with LRT, maybe it can improve a little bit, but we haven't seen any positive remarks so far just yet. And that created a stigma for a lot of investors towards Cyberjaya. But this is only limited to the high rise of it. Like my friends included, they bought 10 years already. Every month still rent out, and every month they still cough in like 200 to 300 just to top up for the rental to the installment. They bought at 450,000 10 years ago. Now the condo is 280,000. As an investor, then Cyberjaya is not my top priority of focus for investment. However, the intent then for you is you want to use it as a home. My suggestion would then be, instead of buying this new property, and I agak know which one you're looking at this particular property, right, is it the best one there? Because in Cyberjaya, there's this thing about distance does not necessarily mean time. Or in other words, means like travel distance does not mean it takes a long time. For example, from Puchong to Puchong, it's still the same address, right? But across that highway jam, it can take me an hour. But if you are in Cyberjaya, you can stay further away, but actually there's no car one. Of course, like peak season, of course, still got some congestion because ultimately the traffic is still controlled using traffic lights, right? So somewhat there will still be congestion, but it's not as serious as Jalan Tun Razak or Mont Kiara or Jalan Kewajiban in Subang Jaya. Never it will reach that level. So what's the point of living so close then at a price that I think is a bit high? So the homework then that you need to do is, you need to look at the project that you're about to buy. Have you checked out 20 other projects around the same location? So just in case if you don't know, this is part of the 4 basic steps within the channel that I encourage everybody to learn before investing or buying a particular project. So number 1 is to get your intent right. So your intention now is mainly to reduce traveling time, to stay so your kid will study, right? But of course, deep down inside, after I buy this property, I still want profits from it. I still want capital appreciation from it. That's the tricky part of this equation. The second thing is then how much loan you can get. So now you can get 575,000 for 3,200 including maintenance a month. Can you afford it? So if bank says you're okay, so this is a rule of thumb that I always use. 3,200, let's say maintenance is 300. So your loan amount is around 2,008. So 2,008 our times 3, that is going to be around the salary that you have, which is 8,000 a month. So 8,000 plus your husband, let's say, I think another 10,000. So it's another 18,000. So 18,000 joint income to pay for a 3,002 installment. Is it sensible or is it affordable? So that is entirely up to you to decide. But if you want to go logical, what can you get for 3,002 around that area? Which is point number 3. Have you visited 19 other projects within that proximity to determine whether this project is expensive or cheap? As simple as that, right? So now the entire research work is to determine the project that you're looking at, is it expensive or is it cheap? So if you were to get the same price that is further away, but now the build up is bigger, isn't that better for living? Because maybe the additional travel time is like another extra 10 minutes only, but you get extra 500 square feet for the same price you pay. Or you can actually get a house in Putrajaya instead, travel to Cyberjaya to just drop the kid and go back to Putrajaya for work. That can be an option too, because Putrajaya's property is performing better than Cyberjaya in accordance to statistics. So that's something that I would encourage you to do first, which is to research on the available choices that you have around the area. And looking at it, maybe this is like one of the only show units that you've been to, and maybe it has been a while since you last walked into a sales gallery. Therefore, you are kind of lured by all the sales tactics and schemes and promotions and packages and discounts, right? So I used to design all this kind of thing. That's why I can really make sure that a person feels very comfortable, welcome, to give you and to feed your emotions when you walk in, to make sure you're comfortable. Tell me what you want and I will feed you what you want to make sure you sign on the dotted lines. It's all designed. So Sales Gallery is one of the highest transaction sales funnels or sales tools. And most of the time, the only KPI that a lot of sales staff, right, will want to do is to make sure the customer just walk into the sales gallery. Once they walk into the sales gallery, 50% or 60% completed already. On a side note, another interesting perspective to this, let's say the Bangi house. If you want to sell, may I suggest to also look at the performance of the house price. It means that when you all buy how much, that's why this is the data that you didn't give me. If the appreciation has been very good, right, then you look into the new developments around that area that you are living in. Is it like prospering, or is it maybe there's a new MRT station there? Everywhere new MRT station, right? Maybe there's a new commercial shop lot there. Maybe there's a new school. Maybe there's new something there around the area that can be a booster or a catalyst to the property price there. So if for the past 10 years you have made your money, now you want to sell out and cash out, entirely up to you, right? But if you want to rent it out, please do not expect that the rental can actually cover the installment, because that's pretty hard for a landed property to do. So for the 3002 portion, right, is it expensive or not? Look at what others are selling for and look at what you can rent for 3002. That's my suggestion. A few more suggestions that this one may be a bit weird, like for example, why must your kid purposefully study that school? Is there any other options, right? Of course, we all want the best for our kids. So if that is non-negotiable, we don't even talk about it. That's for sure set, cast in stone by all means, right? So if that is set, so now we need to be in Cyberjaya. So do we be in Cyberjaya by renting or buy? Why must we buy when the rent is so cheap? For example, the same square feet, same location, same traveling time. The project that you're buying that is going to be ready in 2 years' time, maybe it's 1,600 square feet or 1,000 square feet. I don't know, right? You didn't write. But if it's for me, if within the same size, same location, maybe even bigger, sub-sale I can get for 400,000. Maybe. Or I can get cheaper. So now the discussion then will be about whether do you have the money to buy sub-sale instead of a new project. Because like the location is not doing well already, but it has extreme value for money. It means that property price there has not increased. If in fact, it actually declined for the past century for high rise. So why do you still put your money there? Why do you still expect it to grow? Maybe your project is different. My suggestion, in such a market where the property price is not very good, right? Rental tends to be low as well. And when rental is low, it means superb value for money, especially for you who wants to be there for living. So instead of 3,002, let's put into 2,005 or 2,006 per month. What kind of unit can you rent for 2,006? Maybe you can even rent a landed there. Why must you own a house? Because it's just weird for you to own a house in a location that has depreciated for the last few years. You get what I mean? Like the saying is this: we buy things that appreciates in value and we rent things that depreciates in value. That's the saying lah. But of course, there are certain convenience that comes with owning things. Like for cars, although it depreciates, takkan I rent or I grab every day, right? So I need it to be with me. So it's a tool to get me from point A to point B. I get it. So I'm going to lose money, I'm going to waste money, but it's part of expenses. Get it? Right? For houses as well. But here, when you buy 575,000, 10 years later, not only it may not increase in value, it may drop as well. So maybe in the future, it's only 500,000 left. So what I'm trying to say is there any other projects around the area that you want to be that has better value compared to only this one? And the answer to your question is only more information. What you need to do now is really to just go around Cyberjaya and you will be surprised by the findings as well. It's actually a wonderful place to live in, right? In the weekends, certain portion of Cyberjaya is actually very lively. Then you have enormous amount of space and parks for your children. Landed properties there are expensive and they are doing very, very well. I don't know why, but the high-rise just couldn't take off. I don't know why. Of course, I hope that it takes off. But in reality, when we look into the pricing, when we look into the auction market, the data shows otherwise, right? So I guess that's all for this email. Thank you very much for watching, right? So most of the time, the answer to our question is always more information, more research work. And the more you go through it, the more that you will see. Of course, you can just write in an email and I'll tell you what to do. So I can suggest you what to look at lah, right? And I guess that's all for today. Thank you very much again for the email. For those who still have any questions regarding real estate, do just email me at taniherng@gmail.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram, iherng. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Ciao.